Hello, the Historical Gamer here, and welcome back to episode 3, so the finale of the final climb, where we climb the Scarlet and Violet ranked doubles ladder in its last season, using a more powerful team every episode. This episode will be using our most powerful teams of the series. A little note before we get into the episode. I forgot to record live commentary for this episode, so all of my commentary will be from after the games have already happened. So, let's jump in. As usual, first we're using a team that's built by me. The current ladder format is Reg I, which allows for 2 restricted legendaries, except this team is built for Reg F, which allows none. I still believe this to be my most powerful team though, because it's the only one where the EV spreads are somewhat complete in game. This team is a weather team, in this case a snow team. It has a lot of options, and in my opinion, a great mix between offense and defense. Fluttermane, Baxcalibur and Chen Pao serve as the offensive Pokemon, while Ninetales, Articuno and Clefairy can be more defensive or support with tools like Aurora Veil, Freeze Fishing with Blizzard, or Follow Me. Articuno and Booster Energy Speed serve as our forms of speed control. In Game 1, I faced a team with 2 powerful restricted legendaries, Calyrex Ice Rider and Miraidon. I thought I'd spotted was a team with 2 modes, Trick Room with Farigiraf, Iron Hands and Calyrex Ice, then Electric Terrain with Iron Hands, Iron Treads and Miraidon, as well as a Scraggy, which really confused me on why it was there. So I brought Ninetales to set up Snow, Chen Pao to deny Trick Room, and Baxcalibur to wreck the Electric Terrain mode by just spamming Earthquake. Lastly, I brought Clefairy to try and support Baxcalibur late game. They led Farigiraf and Iron Hands, immediately signalling to me that they planned to win using Trick Room. I decided to try and set up Aurora Veil, and then crunch the Farigiraf to stop Trick Room going up. Unfortunately for me, I forgot about Fake Out, as they faked out Ninetales, stopping Aurora Veil going up, which was likely their goal. I then hit Farigiraf, but it didn't KO, and they hit Ninetales again, likely hoping to KO it without the Aurora Veil. By the end of the turn, no KOs were taken. We then traded Pokemon, with me KOing Farigiraf and them KOing Ninetales, but not before I could get Aurora Veil up. Little did I know, Iron Hands was a much bigger threat than Farigiraf in this match, because they did not end up setting Trick Room. I then brought out Baxcalibur, hoping to capitalize off of Sword of Ruin and Aurora Veil to take some KOs, especially KO the Iron Hands, as they brought out their restricted Calyrex Ice Rider. I thought Sword of Ruin would let me KO Iron Hands, so I used Earthquake and Crunch to try and KO it and deal good damage to Calyrex, but it didn't, so I took a Glacial Launch and a Drain Punch. Iron Hands then got to heal some of the damage I had dealt to it, and along with breaking my own Focus Sash with Earthquake, I would say the turn went quite badly. I then doubled Calyrex, trying to take it out quickly, but it protected. This let Iron Hands KO my Baxcalibur with another Drain Punch, and heal itself even more. With Chen Pao's Focus Sash gone and Clefairy not being particularly offensive, I had neither enough offensive or defensive power to win the game, though I did end up KOing Calyrex, which was good. Next, I faced another team with no restricteds. Noticing the team's massive weakness to Freeze Dry, I brought Articuno and then Fluttermane for immediate pressure, with Ninetales and Baxcalibur in the back, to be able to play an offensive or defensive endgame. They led Urshifu and Amoonguss against my Articuno and Fluttermane. Perfect for me. Fluttermane got to erase Urshifu with Dazzling Gleam, but I thought Urshifu might have a Focus Sash, and I also need to damage Amoonguss before it puts everything to sleep, so I decided to chance Blizzard without the snow. Unfortunately for me, it missed Amoonguss and Urshifu did not have a Focus Sash, which let Amoonguss put Fluttermane to sleep. They then brought in Palafin. As next turn, I switched out the sleeping Fluttermane into Alolan Ninetales to set the snow, teared the Articuno to water, likely to survive a wave crash, and went for the now 100% accurate Blizzard to try and KO the Amoonguss. They flip-turned and switched into quite a big threat, Fluttermane. Articuno then uses Blizzard, which ends up not KOing Amoonguss, but it does freeze Fluttermane, and due to Snowcloak, Spore ends up missing. After this insane luck, my opponent forfeits, meaning I automatically win the match. I then decide it's time to switch teams, and switch to this episode's actually good team. This is the most powerful team we used in the series, and the last one. It is dual restricted and has Calyrex Ice Rider and Miraidon for both a fast mode and a slow mode. We also notably have Choice Band Urshifu and Prankster Grimmsnarl to set up dual screens, paralyze things, and drop special attack with Spirit Break. Our next battle was against an opponent one rank higher than us. Playing Miraidon Kyogre, with Orcaladon to capitalize off of Kyogre's reign, and Whimsicott for Prankster Tailwind. So I brought Miraidon as it can destroy Kyogre, and Terra Fairy Dazzling Gleam can get rid of Miraidon with good positioning. I then brought Grimmsnarl for survival, and also just because I wanted to show it, and I brought Landorus, as Earth Power can chunk Miraidon, Orcaladon, and Incineroar. Lastly, I brought Incineroar, as I didn't want to set Trick Room, so decided there was no point bringing Calyrex Ice, and while Urshifu could definitely do a lot to Crocodile, I decided Incineroar's probably a more reliable option, and Fake Out and Intimidate could probably be helpful. They led Orcaladon and Whimsicott against my Miraidon and Grimmsnarl. I terrestrialized Miraidon to Fairy and set up a light screen, as I feared a flash cannon, but they switched into Incineroar and set up Tailwind. The Dazzling Gleam hit for almost half of Incineroar's health and let me bring Whimsicott down to Focus Sash. Having no way around Fake Out, I set up Reflect to minimize damage and went for a Dazzling Gleam, hoping to KO the Whimsicott and bring the Incineroar very low. Light Screen shielded Grimmsnarl from most of Whimsicott's Moonblast's damage, but surprisingly Incineroar did not Fake Out, instead using Parting Shot to lower Miraidon's special attack and switch out. Due to me KOing Whimsicott, they not only got to bring in Orcaladon, but got to bring in Incineroar again and further lower my Grimmsnarl's attack stat, which wasn't too much of a big deal, considering its job isn't really to attack anyway. I thought they were almost certainly going to Flash Cannon something, and Fake Out Miraidon, so I switched out into Landorus. I was right, and Landorus barely survived both hits. This let me hit the low HP Incineroar, which despite my half attack, KO'd it. Next, they sent out Kyogre. They set up the Rain, which powers up both the Orcaladon and the Kyogre. Kyogre was now a huge threat to my Landorus, and the Orcaladon was threatening my Grimmsnarl. I needed to preserve Landorus to get rid of Orcaladon, so I protected it, and went for Thunder Wave on Kyogre, hoping to stop it moving and slow it down in future turns, so Landorus could successfully deal with Orcaladon. Thunder Wave landed, and a crit Flash Cannon from Orcaladon KO'd Grimmsnarl, but by protecting Landorus, I got the paralysis on Kyogre and successfully stalled the Tailwind from earlier in the battle. I then sent in the already Terra Fairy to Miraidon. Tried to go for a super effective Electro Drift into their Kyogre, which unfortunately for me, Terra grasped, so survived the hit, but was still considerably chunked. Flash Cannon thankfully hit Miraidon instead of Landorus, and despite being super effective, only did just under half health, though it did get a special defense drop. Them not knocking out Landorus allowed me to use Earth Power on Orcaladon and knock it out. A likely unnecessary but very convenient full paralysis on Kyogre let me knock it out next turn with an Electro Drift and a Sludge Bomb, winning me the game. The last match of this series was played against Perish Trap, and let's just say, this was a stressful one. Brought Incineroar and Grimmsnarl as my lead. Incineroar for Intimidate to lower Koraidon's attack, and hopefully get rid of Gothitelle quickly using knockoff. This would end Shadow Tag, which is the trap part of the strategy. Then Grimmsnarl, because if I couldn't knock out Gothitelle, then I might as well have some staying power. And Dual Screens could heavily assist whatever offensive Pokemon I decided to bring in the back. I then brought Dual Restricteds in the back to try and brute force my way to victory with Terra Fairy Dazzling Gleams and Glacial Lances, which would beat Koraidon and Miraidon if they didn't terrestrialize. They led Screamtail and Miraidon, which seemed good because there was no Gothitelle. I tried to fake out Miraidon and used Light Screen to soften future damage, but they switched into Gothitelle, activating Shadow Tag, and then set up Perish Song. Thankfully, I discovered something about my rental team. I had Terra Ghost Grimmsnarl. This let me avoid Gothitelle's fake out and set up the second screen, Reflect, but unfortunately and crucially, Incineroar was encored into fake out by Screamtail before it could land a super effective hit, which I had planned to be U-turn because it bypasses Shadow Tag. The Perish counter falls to 2. I then decide to paralyze Gothitelle, but I get hit by Taunt and Encore on the same turn, meaning my Grimmsnarl can't move. The Perish counter falls to 1. I accept Incineroar is probably going to go down, and decide to switch out Grimmsnarl as it is also now useless. I switch into Calyrex Ice. They switch into both Koraidon and Miraidon. Risky because of Fleblets, but if I can land a Glacial Lance that will do a lot of damage to both Restricteds. Incineroar faints. I switch in Miraidon to try and Dazzling Gleam, and also create a field that looks like it's come out of Ubers. They Terra Fairy Miraidon, protect Koraidon, and confusingly Volt Switch. I go for the obvious play of Dazzling Gleam and Glacial Lance. They bring in the Screamtail, who unfortunately for me survives both a Dazzling Gleam and Glacial Lance. They then switch out Koraidon and bring in Gothitelle, resetting Shadow Tag, as Screamtail goes for a Perish Song to capitalize off of it. Then Miraidon hits Screamtail with Dazzling Gleam, which KOs. Miraidon is now on a timer, but I protected Calyrex Ice, fearing a Flare Blitz from Koraidon, so Calyrex is not on the same timer. Furthermore, now that Screamtail's gone, they can't set up another Perish Song. They then send in Koraidon, who can Flare Blitz Calyrex, and Gothitelle now has access to Fake Out. I can't do anything with Specs Miraidon, and decide not to switch Calyrex, mostly because I forgot. So Calyrex goes down to Koraidon's Flare Blitz, and Gothitelle Fake Out the Miraidon. The Perish count falls to 2. Koraidon protects itself from the damage from Miraidon, and the paralysis from Grimmsnarl. Gothitelle doesn't move because it's fully paralyzed, and takes a bit of damage from Miraidon's Dazzling Gleam. Koraidon loses its Sun Boost, but still this is another turn wasted. The Perish counter falls to 1, with Light Screen wearing off on the same turn. They switch into their Terra Fairy'd Miraidon, and my Miraidon takes a collision course from Koraidon. Then my Miraidon uses Dazzling Gleam and KOs Koraidon. A Spirit Break from Grimmsnarl hits Miraidon for more damage and crucially lowers its special attack, but the Perish timer has hit 0, and Miraidon faints, with Reflect ending the turn after. They bring in Gothitelle, and at this point the game is over. After a lucky full paralysis on Gothitelle and Grimmsnarl surviving an Electro Drift, I thought I had a chance of KOing the very low HP Miraidon. I tried to Thunder Wave it, knowing to win I'd need double full paralysis, but Thunder Wave misses and Miraidon just KOs Grimmsnarl with Electro Drift, losing me the battle. Hey, this was The Historical Gamer, and thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and perhaps even this series. If you liked the video, give it a like, and if you like this style of content, then drop a comment about it. Next I'll show every team I used in the series. Hope to see you in a Pokemon Champions video, and goodbye! P.S. Please note that some of these rental codes may be outdated.